Welcome to Trending Now USA. This is Ava bringing you the latest in international sports, and today's top story focuses on Filipina tennis sensation Alex Eala, who fell short in her attempt to qualify for the main draw of the Wuhan Open. After a grueling few weeks of back-to-back tournaments across China, the 20-year-old rising star showed signs of weariness as she bowed out of the qualifiers, allowing her Japanese opponent to advance at her expense. The result highlights both the physical demands of the tour and the lessons that come with playing in consecutive events at the highest levels of the game. Alex Eala entered the Wuhan Open qualifiers just days after competing at the Suzhou Open, where she was seeded and tasked with managing a tight schedule. Before that, she had made a strong semi-final run at the Jingshan Open, demonstrating her ability to battle deep into tournaments. However, 3 straight weeks of competitive play, intense travel within China, and physically draining matches may have finally caught up to her, as fatigue became an evident factor in Wuhan. Her opponent in the qualifiers, a Japanese player determined to make her own breakthrough, capitalized on Eala's slower reactions and inconsistent serve, pushing the pace from the very first game. Though Eala showed flashes of her brilliance, powerful forehands, deft movement across the baseline, and her trademark fighting spirit, her energy reserves were visibly depleted. The rallies she would usually dominate with precision and speed instead became taxing exchanges that exposed her lack of recovery time. The Japanese challenger, meanwhile, remained composed and aggressive, ultimately sealing the win and booking her spot in the Wuhan main draw. For Eala, this result may feel like a setback, but it is also a reflection of the brutal reality of the professional tennis circuit. Playing 3 consecutive tournaments without extended rest is no easy feat, particularly for a 20-year-old player still adjusting to the demands of top-level events. The transition from the WTA 125 circuit, where she has enjoyed recent success, including a title in Guadalajara earlier this year, to the elite WTA 1000 stage is not just about talent. It is about endurance, recovery, and timing. Her journey through China in recent weeks underscores the challenges of balancing ambition with physical readiness. At Jingshan, Eala's semi-final run was cut short by New Zealand's Lulu Sun, a match that tested her resilience in 3 grueling sets. Moving to Suzhou, she entered as the number 4 seed, a recognition of her improving ranking and growing reputation. Yet, competing under the weight of expectations brings its own stress, and matches in Suzhou demanded the kind of focus and stamina that inevitably left her drained heading into Wuhan. The Wuhan Open, a WTA 1000 event, is one of the crown jewels of the Asian swing. It attracts top 10 players, seasoned champions, and hungry young contenders, all vying for crucial ranking points and prestige. For Eala, even the qualifiers were an opportunity to showcase her progress and potentially line up a marquee matchup in the main draw. That dream, however, will have to wait. Falling in the qualifiers is not the outcome she had hoped for, but it provides perspective on the areas she must continue to develop as she navigates her transition into higher-tier tournaments. Observers of the match noted that Eala struggled with her serve, landing fewer first serves than her opponent and committing costly double faults at key moments. Her return game, usually sharp and capable of putting pressure on opponents, lacked the same bite, especially as fatigue blunted her timing. In contrast, the Japanese player remained steady, converting break points and taking advantage of Eala's reduced movement. Statistically, the gap was clear. Eala's unforced error count rose in the second set, while her opponent maintained consistency and discipline. It wasn't a lopsided contest. Eala remained competitive throughout, even pushing several games to deuce, but the inability to close those critical points made the difference. For a young player learning to manage her game under stress, these experiences, though painful, are also invaluable. From a broader perspective, this loss may feel disappointing, but it does not diminish what Alex Eala has achieved in 2025. Her ranking has steadily climbed, her reputation has grown, and her confidence against higher-ranked players has improved. Every match, win or lose, adds to the foundation of experience that will serve her in bigger stages ahead. Falling in Wuhan is part of that growth process, and it will likely fuel her hunger as she prepares for the next events on her schedule. Fans in the Philippines, who have closely followed her journey from her junior Grand Slam triumphs to her professional ascent, remain proud of her achievements. Eala has become more than just an athlete. She is a symbol of possibility for a country that has long sought international recognition in tennis. Her appearances in prestigious tournaments like the Wuhan Open, even in qualifiers, place her among the sport's rising stars. Every step she takes in these arenas brings visibility not only to her name, but to the Philippine flag she proudly represents. The story of her Wuhan qualifier defeat is not about failure, but about resilience and the demands of growth. Sports history is filled with players who struggled in their early WTA 1000 appearances before breaking through later. The lessons Eala gains now about pacing, energy management, and tactical adaptability will only strengthen her as she moves forward. It is important to remember that Alex Eala is still only 20 years old. In tennis terms, she is at the beginning of what could be a long and illustrious career. The experiences of consecutive weeks in China, culminating in the Wuhan qualifier, form part of the steep learning curve all elite players must endure. With time, she will learn to calibrate her tournament schedule, balancing rest and competition in ways that maximize her performance. For now, the key takeaway is that Eala continues to push her boundaries, testing herself in new arenas and showing the determination to compete at the highest levels. The Wuhan qualifier was just another chapter in her story, a chapter that will be remembered not for the loss itself, but for the courage it took to keep pushing despite exhaustion. As her Japanese opponent moves into the main draw, the contrast between their situations is a reminder of tennis's unpredictability. For the victor, Wuhan represents an opportunity to shine. For Eala, Wuhan represents a lesson. Both paths are part of the sport's relentless rhythm, where one day's heartbreak becomes the next day's motivation. In the days ahead, Eala and her team will likely focus on recovery and recalibration. With a heavy schedule behind her, rest becomes as important as practice. Recharging mentally and physically will allow her to prepare for upcoming tournaments where she can once again showcase the skills that have carried her this far. Filipino fans, meanwhile, will continue to support her with the same passion and pride, knowing that her journey is far from over and that brighter moments lie ahead. What stands out in this narrative is not the defeat itself, but the trajectory of a young athlete daring to aim higher. The Wuhan qualifiers may not have gone her way, but they represent another step in a career defined by perseverance, ambition, and the unshakable belief that with time, she can rise among the sport's elite.